Before entering the story, please subscribe to the channel, like and share to help me. Thank you. Be so focused they think you're dangerous. There's a certain power in silence. A man who moves without explaining, who builds without broadcasting, who improves without bragging. That's the kind of man the world can't quite figure out. And what people can't figure out, they fear, tethered to their phones, their comfort, their craving for validation. You stop explaining yourself to those who've already made up their mind. And the moment you reclaim that energy, that time, that mental real estate, you start to build momentum, quietly, relentlessly. Their attention span is sold off to dopamine and convenience. They drift, and they call it living. But when you decide to sharpen your attention, to cut off the noise, to sit in solitude, to make sacrifice your standard, everything starts to shift. Focus like that makes you unpredictable. And when you're unpredictable, you're dangerous. Because most people are scattered, distracted. You become a mirror, reflecting back their lack of effort, their excuses, their comfort zones. That reflection can feel like a threat. So instead of stepping up, they step away. That's not your loss. You stop being available to the wrong things. You stop saying yes out of guilt. But that's not loneliness. That's separation from the average. It's a sacred space. It's where growth lives. You don't owe them your softness just to make them feel safe around your ambition. Keep your circle tight. Keep your plans quiet. Keep your goals big and your standards bigger. And when you stay locked in long enough, the same people who once doubted you will come back. Not with apologies, but with curiosity. They'll ask how you did it. They'll want the blueprint. But by then, you'll be too far ahead. You're here to chase clarity, execution, growth. You're here to build something no one can take from you. Skill, mindset, resilience. He's not reactive. He's not triggered by opinions, trends, or temptations. His mind is fortified. His time is guarded. His energy is his own. And that starts when you stop chasing everything and start locking into one thing. .com/grounded, unshaken. The kind of presence that doesn't beg for attention. It commands it, not by volume, but by vision. You let your presence earn it every single day. You let your obsession with the process make you untouchable. It's where mastery is born. And that's the point. You're not here to be easily understood. You're here to become undeniable. Talks different, operates on a frequency most never tune into, and they'll feel it, even if they can't explain it. Cutting away the distractions that rob you of your time and your edge, you start dominating, quietly, strategically, unapologetically. The power to say no when it's uncomfortable. The power to walk away from what's easy and chase what's necessary. Most don't have that power, not because it's unreachable, but because it's unfamiliar. It requires rewiring everything they've been taught. That balance is safe, comfort is the goal, and blending in is smart. Forget that. Don't explain yourself when people start to fall off. They're not built for where you're going, and they don't need to understand. And every time you do that, every time you say no to the noise, you say yes to your vision, and that makes people uncomfortable. Not because you're redoing something wrong, but because you're redoing something they're too afraid to do. You're facing your demons instead of distracting yourself. You're embracing discipline while they chase cheap pleasure. You're betting on delayed gratification while they sprint towards short-term comfort. That kind of intensity, that kind of intentionality, it scares them. They'll call you obsessed, cold, arrogant. They'll say you're too intense, like that's a flaw. But let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Because while they're busy gossiping, you're busy building. While they're debating your character, you're refining it. While they're watching, you're working. Your life doesn't need commentary. It needs clarity. Clarity comes from cutting out the junk, cutting off the habits that slow you down. And here's the part they don't tell you. When you become that focused, people start to question themselves. The more disciplined you become, the more isolated you may feel. You don't need to convince anyone, because when you lock in, when you commit to your mission, like your life depends on it, you tap into a level of intensity most people can't handle. When you walk in the room, your energy should speak before your mouth does. So build in silence, move with intent, and let the results speak a language they can't deny, because results, they don't need explanation. They don't beg for validation. They speak loud, even in silence. See, focus isn't just about productivity, it's about power. The power to choose your direction. Let them play it safe. Let them chase comfort. One mission, one discipline, one focus. Because the man who's focused, truly focused, becomes immune to distraction. That kind of man walks different. But here's the key. You don't chase respect. You don't chase admiration. You let your consistency demand it. It's not about being better than others. It's about being better than you were yesterday. And when that becomes your baseline, when improvement is no longer an event but a lifestyle, you become a different breed. You stop competing, so stay in the zone. Don't flinch when it gets hard. Don't fold when it gets lonely. Because when your focus is weaponized, when your purpose is dialed in, when your every move is aligned with a bigger vision, you don't need to be loud to be felt. You don't need to be seen to be remembered. You just need to keep showing up. Fully locked in, unbothered, unstoppable, because this isn't a phase. This is who you are now. You've burned the bridges to distraction. You've buried the version of yourself that hesitated, overthought, and what's left is a man who doesn't just act, he executes. Deliberately, intentionally, without looking over his shoulder for approval. And that's when you start moving different. You wake up with purpose, you don't scroll, you strategize. You don't complain, you calibrate. Every action is a brick, every decision is a step. You're not just building a life, you're building a legacy. One that won't require you to explain yourself. Because your work ethic already said everything that needed to be said. Let people label it however they want. Too focused, too cold, too serious, good. That means the mask is off. That means they're seeing the real you. The one who refuses to play small, to shrink into mediocrity just to make others comfortable. You're not here to be nice. You're here to be real, grounded, clear, unshakable. It's for the committed, and the deeper you go, the clearer you see. Because here's the truth. In a world addicted to distraction, discipline looks dangerous. In a culture obsessed with comfort, intensity feels threatening. And in a generation chasing clout, presence is power. So let your focus unsettle them. Let your silence confuse them. Let your ambition make them nervous. That's the cost of leveling up. Not everyone comes with you, and not everyone claps when you win. Let them fall off, let them doubt, let them whisper. You've got no time to explain the mission to people who weren't built for the battlefield. This path isn't for the comfortable. Half the battle is tuning out the world. The other half is tuning into yourself. The pain, the pressure, the doubts, they're not roadblocks, they're reps. And every time you push through, instead of pulling back, every time you stay locked in when it would have been easier to quit, you build something that nobody can fake. That's where real strength is forged. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Their problems seem small now. Their conversations feel empty. Their drama, their excuses. It all starts to sound the same. And that's when you know you're evolving. In the hours no one sees. When the cameras are off, when no one's cheering, when it's just you versus you, that's where the gap is created. Not in the loud moments, but in the quiet ones. When you choose growth over comfort, discipline over dopamine, consistency over chaos, and slowly, you separate. You stop relating to the people you used to hang with. Not because you've changed who you are, but because you've finally remembered. You remembered that your time is sacred. You remembered that your energy isn't free. You remembered that the mission isn't to fit in, it's to break out. And when you operate from that level of clarity, something shifts. You stop needing motivation. You start operating from principle. You stop chasing goals. You start living by standards. And that's dangerous, because most people only move when they feel like it. You move because it's non-negotiable. You're not driven by mood, you're driven by mission. And that shift right there, that's the dividing line between average and elite. Elite men aren't louder, they're not luckier, they're not born with it, they just lock in. Longer they endure, deeper they focus. Harder? So ask yourself, how bad do you want it? How deep are you willing to cut? How far are you willing to go? Because focus is a choice. Every single day, you either pour your attention into the distractions that drain you, or you direct it like a weapon into the mission that builds you. There is no in-between. There is no maybe tomorrow. It's either full commitment or full regret. And that decision is yours. So stop looking around. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop needing permission. Go dark. Go deep. Go all in. Because once you go all in, the world starts to respond differently. Opportunities don't just appear. They open for the man who's already moving. People begin to notice, not because you're shouting, but because your presence carries weight. Your energy speaks before your mouth ever has to. And here's the thing, not everyone will celebrate your discipline. Some will be intimidated. Some will feel exposed. Your drive shines a light on their apathy, and not everyone is ready to face that reflection. But that's not your concern. You're not here to make people comfortable. You're here to rise. And rising demands sacrifice. Late nights, early mornings, isolation, repetition, grinding through the days when nothing feels exciting, working while they sleep, improving while they party, bleeding for a future that only you can see right now. That's focus, not hype, not hustle, porn, real, ruthless commitment. The kind that turns potential into performance. The kind that makes people whisper, what's gotten into them? The kind that turns a quiet man into a silent threat. Because when you stop broadcasting your plans and start living them, when you stop sharing your vision and start executing it, you become untouchable. And that's where the shift happens. No more chasing attention, no more explaining your standards, no more negotiating your pace to match the comfort of others. You build your world, brick by brick, without shortcuts, without applause, without asking for anyone's approval. Let them doubt you. Let them question your methods. Let them roll their eyes at your discipline. You owe them nothing. You owe your future everything. Because this isn't about being busy. This is about being dangerous. Not in a loud, chaotic way, but in a calm, composed, surgical way. The way a sniper waits, the way a lion stalks, the way a storm brews in silence. That's the energy. That's the frequency. That's the man you become when focus becomes your lifestyle. And once focus becomes your lifestyle, everything else gets filtered out. You stop entertaining weak conversations. You stop investing energy in what doesn't elevate you. You stop explaining your grind to people who've never built anything themselves. Because now, it's not about proving anything. It's about protecting what you've built. Your time, your mind, your momentum. The ones who once joked about your seriousness, quiet now. Because they see it. They feel it. You no longer just a man with a goal. You've become the embodiment of a mission. This level of focus doesn't just change how you move. It changes who you attract. Suddenly, the flaky ones disappear. The complainers stop calling. And that kind of energy, it can't be faked. It's forged in failure, refined in silence, proven through relentless repetition. It's built when you train your mind to keep showing up. Not when it's easy, but especially when it's not. And that's what separates the talkers from the builders, the dabblers from the doers, the almosts from the absolutes. This journey isn't about speed. It's about depth. Going so deep into your craft, your vision, your values, that distractions can't reach you, that opinions can't shake you, that failure can't break you. Because you're not just in it to win, you're in it to master. Master your mind, master your discipline, master your mission. And mastery requires obsession, not chaos, not burnout, but locked in, dialed in, purpose-driven obsession. The kind of obsession that makes people think you're different because you are. You're not playing for the weekend. You're not grinding for the applause. You're not hustling for validation. You're building something sacred, something unshakable, something that will outlast every opinion, every setback, every excuse. And when that becomes who you are, when that fire becomes your default, you don't just inspire respect, you demand it, not through words, but through presence. Because there's a silent authority in the man who knows exactly where he's going. He doesn't posture, he doesn't flex, he just moves. With clarity, with conviction, with a quiet intensity that makes people lean in or back off. And the truth is, you want both. You want to attract the real ones, the focused, the disciplined, the uncommon, and you want to repel the ones who can't handle the pressure of your standard. Because every level you reach will cost you something. People, comfort, old habits. You'll outgrow versions of yourself you've once held on to. But you'll gain something far more valuable. Alignment. Alignment with who you're becoming. Alignment with the work that lights you up. Alignment with the mission that makes every sacrifice worth it. And when you hit that frequency, you stop craving balance. You crave alignment. You stop multitasking your purpose. You double down on it. Every day becomes a rep. Every moment becomes a test. Every distraction becomes an opportunity to sharpen your discipline even further. And that's when people start watching. Not because you asked for it, but because you earned it. They feel something different in the way you carry yourself. In your eyes, your energy, your refusal to break, because you've already suffered. You've already sacrificed. You've already done the work when no one was watching. And now, they feel the edge, the fire, the danger. You become a man who can't be bought, can't be rushed, can't be shaken. And that kind of focus, that kind of inner stillness wrapped in outer intensity, that's what makes you dangerous. Because dangerous men don't chase attention. They create impact. They don't need loud rooms or empty praise. Their results echo, their presence commands, and their discipline. It speaks in every decision they make. You walk differently when you've earned your own respect. When you've looked in the mirror and refused to lie to yourself, when you've buried the excuses, silenced the noise, and made pain your ally. That's where your edge is carved. Not in comfort, but in confrontation. Confronting your laziness. Confronting your weakness. Confronting the part of you that still wants to coast. And every time you choose pressure over comfort, silence over attention, discipline over distraction, you stack another layer of armor. Mental armor, spiritual armor. Unbreakable, unshakable focus. You become the kind of man who can't be swayed by likes, trends, or opinions. You don't move unless it aligns. You don't speak unless it matters. You don't fold, even when it's tempting, because your life isn't run by emotions anymore. It's run by principles. And that alone makes you a threat in today's world. A world that worships easy. A culture that promotes comfort over courage. Where people spend their whole lives avoiding discomfort. While you run straight into it, eyes forward, shoulders squared, unapologetically focused. That's power, that's rare, that's dangerous. And the higher you go, the quieter it gets. Less noise, fewer people, more weight. But with that weight comes clarity. And with that clarity comes a responsibility. To not dim your light just because it blinds the unprepared. To not water down your message just because it makes others insecure. To not shrink when your presence disrupts the mediocre. You weren't built to blend in. You were built to break through. So let the discomfort shape you. Let the pressure refine you. Let the world watch in confusion, in AOI, in silence, as you keep showing up, because showing up, especially when in Escard, is what separates the real from the fake. Anyone can post motivation, anyone can talk about goals, but few are willing to wake up when they don't feel like it. Few are willing to outwork the doubt. Few are willing to disappear long enough to build something that lasts. And that's what you're doing. You're not chasing moments, you're crafting legacy. You're not reacting, you're constructing. Piece by piece, layer by layer, without applause, without permission, without compromise. The grind isn't always glorious, but it's yours. And when it's yours, you're not shaken by the lack of recognition. You know the world only respects finished product, not the lonely hours it took to build it. So while they scroll, you stack. While they flex, you focus. While they fear judgment, you lean into discipline, because you've already made peace with the isolation. You've already buried your need to be liked. You've already chosen purpose over popularity. And that's why you're dangerous. Not because you're loud, but because you're locked in. Not because you're perfect, but because you keep showing up. Scarred, tired, relentless. Every rep, every setback, every sacrifice. It's part of the code now. It's in your eyes, in your posture, in your stillness. And what they don't understand, they'll label too serious, too cold, too intense. But that's fine, let them talk. While they project, you progress. You're not in this for validation. You're in this because you refuse to be average. You're in this because you know what it feels like to be lost, distracted, weak, and you never want to go back. This is about full ownership. This is about locking the door behind you and burning the blueprint to comfort. This is about turning your pain into fuel and your vision into fire. And the truth is, once you truly lock in, once you fully commit, once you refuse to be anything less than what you're capable of, you don't just become focused, you become a force that doesn't beg for space. It creates it, a force that doesn't chase opportunity. It attracts it, a force that doesn't adapt to mediocrity. It demands excellence everywhere it goes. You walk into rooms and change the temperature, not by arrogance, not by noise, but by presence. By the way you carry yourself when no one's clapping. By the way you stay composed when chaos hits. By the way you never break character, even when pressure's at its peak. That's what makes people watch in silence. They feel the difference, even if they can't explain it, because the world is used to men who fold. Men who chase comfort, soften their edge, bend their values just to fit in. But when you show up unapologetically focused, brutally disciplined, and dangerously clear, you remind the world what real masculinity, real purpose, real power looks like. And make no mistake, it's not about domination over others, it's about domination over yourself, your urges, your emotions, your lower nature. The part of you that wants to rest, to slow down, to hide. Every time you choose focus over impulse, every time you move with clarity instead of chaos, every time you act from principle instead of pressure, you reinforce your foundation, you rise, you become, because that's the goal. Not just to achieve more, but to become more disciplined, more grounded, more dangerous, because you've got nothing to prove, but everything to protect. Your vision, your values, your mission. So stay there in the quiet, in the grind, in the shadows where strength is forged and clarity is born. Let the world misread you. Let them question your silence. Let them confuse your discipline for detachment. They don't need to understand your path. They weren't called to walk it, but you were, and you will, with zero permission and absolute focus. Because absolute focus doesn't ask for understanding. It moves regardless. It doesn't slow down to explain. It doesn't dilute itself to be more palatable. It doesn't wait for applause to validate the work. That's what makes it rare. That's what makes you rare. And the rarest thing in this world, a man who knows where he's going and refuses to be moved. Not by doubt, not by distraction, not by detours disguised as opportunities, because now, the mission is too real. The cost of drifting is too high. And the man you used to be, he's already gone. You buried him the moment you chose discipline over excuses. The moment you stopped reacting and started building. Every day you double down, you create more distance. Distance from who you were. Distance from the noise. Distance from the average. And some won't like that. They'll call you distant. They'll say you changed good. That means you're doing it right. Because growth isn't meant to feel comfortable. It's meant to feel clear. Clear in your mind, clear in your actions, clear in your values. And when that clarity locks in, so does your edge. You stop needing to get ready. Because you stay ready. Prepared, focused, battle-tested. You don't just weather storms, you move through them. Because storms are part of the process. Resistance is part of the path. Pressure is what sharpens the blade. So let it sharpen you. Let every setback refine your focus. Let every delay train your patience. Let every betrayal teach you who to never let close again. This isn't just about success. It's about sovereignty. about being so in control of yourself that nothing external can shake you. No criticism, no trend, no failure. Because when you own your mind, you own your movement. And when you own your movement, you become unshakable, unstoppable, undeniable. And when you become undeniable, you no longer compete. You set the standard. You stop looking sideways. You stop measuring your progress by other people's time. You stop explaining your intensity to those who settled a long time ago, because you finally see it for what it is. This isn't a race, it's a war. A war between who you are and who you're capable of becoming. A war between the world's distractions and your deepest purpose. And only one side wins. Every rep, every early morning, every hard choice. They're not random, they're weapons. Weapons forged in discomfort, sharpened through sacrifice, powered by vision. And the more you choose, discipline over desire, control over chaos, silence over noise, the sharper your edge becomes. Until one day, the world looks up and realizes, you didn't just improve, you evolved quietly, relentlessly, and now you're untouchable. They'll say you're lucky. They'll say it was natural talent, but they'll never understand the nights you went without sleep, the days you went without praise, the months you went without results, but still showed up anyway. That's the part they'll never see. That's the part that built you. Because focus isn't sexy. It's not glamorous. It's gritty. It's repetitive. It's often lonely. But it's also the price of greatness. You either pay that price now, or you pay the cost of regret later. And the man who's locked in, he already made his choice. He's not moved by noise. He's not pulled by trends. He's not swayed by emotions. He just executes, day in, day out, focused, dangerous, unstoppable. And if you keep going, if you keep showing up with fire in your eyes and purpose in your steps, eventually, the world won't be able to ignore you. They won't understand how you did it, but they'll feel it every time you walk in the room. Because that's what happens when a man refuses to break and chooses instead to become a weapon. Not a weapon of destruction, a weapon of direction, a force of nature guided by purpose, not impulse. Deadly to distractions, lethal to laziness. Precise, patient, and locked on the target. That's what separates the few from the many. Most people wake up and react to notifications, to news, to nonsense. You wake up and move with intent because you know exactly what today demands, and you refuse to let it slip by. See, there comes a point when the mission becomes non-negotiable, not because you're motivated, but because it's simply who you are now. You don't try to stay focused, you are focused. You don't pretend to be disciplined, you breathe discipline. It's in your choices, it's in your routine, it's in your refusal to lower the standard, even when no one's watching. And make no mistake, they're watching. Watching how you carry yourself when things get hard, watching if you flinch under pressure, watching to see if your actions match your words. So give them something to watch. Let your silence speak. Let your eyes show that you've already made peace with the grind. Let your presence remind them. This isn't a phase, this is permanent. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And when your systems are locked in, when your habits are forged in fire, when your focus is surgical, there's no room for doubt, no space for weakness, no tolerance for excuses, because excuses are the language of men who've already quit. And you killed that part of yourself a long time ago. Now it's only forward, only deeper, only sharper. You're not chasing motivation, you're leading yourself. And that kind of self-lead, that kind of internal fire, it doesn't fade. It spreads one rep at a time, one sacrifice at a time, one locked-in day at a time until eventually it becomes undeniable. Not just to others, but to you. You begin to see it in your own reflection. The eyes are different now, colder, calmer, hungrier, not for applause, not for validation, but for alignment. Every step you take is measured, every move, calculated. You've stripped away everything that weakens you, the doubts, the distractions, the dead weight. You don't operate out of emotion anymore. You move with strategy, because the mission demands a clear mind and a steady hand. This is where most fall off. When the excitement dies, when the grind gets quiet, but not you. You thrive in the quiet. You grow in the dark, because you know the roots have to go deep before the tree ever rises. And your roots, they're made of every hard decision you didn't want to make, but made anyway. Every early morning, every cold rejection, every lonely night. That's your foundation now. And here's the truth. People don't fear loud ambition. They fear silent progress. The type they can't see coming, the kind that doesn't announce itself, the kind that walks in fully formed, undeniable, unshakable. That's what you're becoming. And it's not just about what you're building, it's about who you have to become in order to sustain it. Because power without control is chaos. Strength without discipline is wasted. And talent without consistency is a tragedy. You've chosen a higher path, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. You've outgrown comfort, you've outgrown distractions, you've outgrown anything that doesn't sharpen you. Now, it's about legacy, about leaving behind proof that you were here, and you didn't waste it. Proof that you stayed locked in when everyone else was lost in the scroll. Proof that you refused to be average, even when average was easy. So keep building, keep refining, keep moving like the storm you are. Quiet, powerful, and absolutely focused.